Heartbreaking to see such a mess. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, we have damaging news. This is absolutely terrible. A massive blast at military explosives plant in Tennessee leaves multiple people dead. Multiple people dead. And this scene looks apocalyptic. It looks abandoned, destroyed, horrific. I wasn't expecting to hear something like this today. Welcome to University. I have to show you guys the scene. I have to show you guys what's going on. This is truly heartbreaking to see such a mess. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you see it for yourself. Please hit the like, hit subscribe, share this out. Sorry for being a little bit delayed. I do apologize. I do. Let's just watch. You guys need to see this. Just look if you haven't.
Breaking news and what is truly an apocalyptic scene in Tennessee. Crews are responding to a powerful blast at a military explosives facility in the town of McEwen. Officials say that a number of people were killed in this, that others are missing. It's an explosion that shook homes miles away in the small rural community west of Nashville. Video from a man's doorbell camera captured the moment that it happened.
Are you still stuffing your kangaroo hoodie?
Breaking. Listen up.
No. I'm about to get me tight.
And the reason why they say explosions, because honestly, it'll be more than one.
Company.
Oh, God, hold on, cuz that shit look crazy.
With us here. I know they're trying to work out the numbers of this. Can you give us a sense of just how many people were working in this facility in what is really quite a small town?
Thank you for having me on. As far as the amount of employees there, I know the entire facility.
A rural community west of Nashville. Video from a man's doorbell camera captured the moment that it happened. Officials are set to give an update on the situation here shortly, but in the meantime, let's bring in CNN's Ryan Young. Ryan, what do we know?
Yeah, you know, this is about an hour outside of Nashville. This happened around 7:48, as you saw in that camera that we just saw from the Ring doorbell. But this blast was immense. When you look at the video from above, you can see just barely anything left. When I called the EMS to talk to them about this, they were telling us that crews initially couldn't even had to stand back to respond because there were secondary explosions. You just look at the rubble there, the cars that have been twisted and pretty much blown apart, some still on fire. This explosion rocked the area. Just hearing from people saying they felt the blast from more than a couple miles away, you understand just the ferocity of this explosion. But when you look at it, you just see how devastating it is. We have confirmed from the sheriff that there are multiple fatalities. No count given just yet, as they're trying to make sure not only is everyone accounted for, but they have to make those painful phone calls to family members who obviously know that their loved ones went to work today and then had this explosion happen. Both Hickman and Humphreys counties are working on this. We know the ATF and bomb arson units from the TBI are there as well. This explosion happening just around 7:48. But listen to what the sheriff said just about 20 minutes ago about this blast and where they are right now.
I don't want to put that kind of information out there right now because we are vetting that. We've had such a massive response that now we're trying to slow down, identify things. And for those of you that was around me during the flood, we had some mistakes during the flood of some things that was put out there as names and numbers and that kind of thing. And I don't want that today. We're trying to be very methodical in what we're doing and making sure that we take the time to recognize and find out each and every one of these individuals and their family.
Brianna, you understand this is going to be a complex investigation with such a large scene like this, but you also want to get it right when you have people's families involved, so you understand the sheriff taking a beat. We do know there should be a news conference within the next half hour or so we hope to bring parts of that to you live as we learn more information. But once again, first responders had to stand back for a little while as these secondary explosions happened. The best vantage point so far has been from above, where you see these scenes that we're looking at right now, just horrific as this community, small community, deals with this blast that apparently took the lives of several of the workers. We'll have more for you soon, Brianna.
All right, we'll be looking for that. Ryan, thank you for the latest. Let's bring in the mayor of Hickman County, one of the counties where this site is sitting on.
For a second, before I continue, guys, I need you to take a look at that. It may look small to you, but in comparison, when taking this aerial footage, it is massive. Just to hear that they had to take a step back to allow this secondary explosion, because there were many small ones, which it makes sense. It is a Tennessee military explosive company. But what breaks my heart, but I do understand, is that people that have died from this deadly explosion, people had to sit back and wait and look, and then, responders, they couldn't just go straight in, dive in. You can't, because you're going to sacrifice yourself to try to help others, which is the heroic thing to do, absolutely, but no one's going to put themselves in danger. This is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. So people that were injured in this, because there's several people that are unaccounted for. Guys, this is terrible.
Yeah, I agree, bro. This is crazy. How's that shit happen? Trying to tell you, when we had war, brother, that's 19 casualties. Up in there in Tennessee, man. Shit, right here, pissing me off.
No one's going to put themselves in danger. This is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. So people that were injured in this, because there's several people that are unaccounted for. Guys, this is terrible.
How the hell that shit happened?
I will feel terrible knowing that I can't do nothing because of these the explosion after. There were people that were injured and needed to be evacuated from that area as quickly as possible.
Especially if y'all don't know what the fuck happened.
And just to
I'm
know
not
that
going
the
in.
people that are
Especially if y'all don't know what happened, I'm definitely not going there. Look, I'll show you. How the hell that shit happened, boy?
accounted for a while breaks my heart. I can't even imagine the people that were close to this explosion from where it happened. It's just so many questions, so many imagery, like it's just so much. You know what I'm saying? It's terrible.
He's with us by phone. Mayor, thanks for being with us here. I know they're trying to work out the numbers of this. Can you give us a sense of just how many people were working in this facility in what is really quite a small town?
Thank you for having me on. As far as the amount of employees there, I know the entire facility has approximately 80 employees. However, we do not at this time know how many were maybe involved in this blast. You know, it's a big facility. You know, it's confirmed that there is one building that was completely devastated. But at this time, I am unknown and unaware of how many were in that building.
Mayor, can you give us a sense of how connected this facility is to that community? How many people in that community are employed here? and how much this is touching people in that community? I'm assuming everyone knows someone who's being affected here.
Yes, ma'am. This facility actually straddles two different counties. It's on the county line between my county, Hickman County, and Humphreys County. And as you saw earlier, the Humphreys County Sheriff was there giving a interview. There is a lot of the employees that do work there are from these two counties. You know, they do a lot in our community as far as you know, helping others. So yeah, it's just it's pretty devastating to see this.
What are you hearing from families where you are?
Well, I have not had much contact with the families. As a matter of fact, I am about to drive out to the scene because I had to mandate my office this morning. So, and field any calls that were coming in. You know, we've had some families call us. We've gave them instructions as to what to do and where to go. And that's the way we're trying to handle this.
Do they have a place where they're going to get information? How are they being treated and communicated with at this point?
Well, like I say, I'm not at the scene. Sheriff Davis from Humphreys County, when he gave his interview, there is a place at the scene, you know, not right there where the explosion took place, but right there on the facility grounds, where the families can go and be able to have someone talk to them. Yes.
Can you talk to us about the questions that are being asked, even if they're not being answered at this point in time? This is obviously a military explosives company. I think it seems pretty evident that something exploded that was not supposed to. Is there any indication of what may have caused that? And tell us just about the questions being raised about that.
Well, there's a lot of questions about that. It is unknown at this time what caused this blast. You know, it's going to be an investigation that's probably going to go on for days.
It's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while because it deals with. This is a facility that manufactures explosives. You know, doing a little bit of research before I got on stream. Again, sorry for the delay. I do apologize.
I'm thinking already.
The cause of this.
I'm thinking already it was an inside attack. You know what I'm saying? That's the first thought. The first thing I'm thinking. Like, when some shit like that happens, yeah. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, man.
It will take a while because they need to go through so many different ways, factors, where it originated, what part of the facility. Hopefully they can recover some footage that will definitely speed up the process to try to better understand, hey,
Nope.
how did this happen?
Hell no.
How can we prevent it? And who was affected from this?
There's gonna be
Because
footage.
this deals with
There's gonna be footage.
our military.
I mean,
You know, this is a facility that manufactures this type of stuff. Now, system manufactures and test explosives for the military, aerospace and commercial customers, and it operates multiple buildings on a large campus. So they have to figure out. They're gonna know from the footage when they recover that which one was it. But this facility in particular in Tennessee has been in operation for years. Now, a news report noted that at least one prior incident at this facility was reported. I believe, I don't know the exact time. I know it happens, but I believe it was earlier in the earlier years, not this year, but like years ago. I don't know the exact time. Excuse me. Now, investigators will review records and safety practices as part of their probe. The press conference is going to be any minute now. Yeah, we're going to cover that.
This fall, fall for the drama, fall for the comedy, fall for the scares, all for free. Pluto TV, stream now, pay never.
This facility, they do manufacture not only military but demolition explosives, for road work and things like that as well. They're not just strictly military. But I will say this: this investigation is going to go on for some time.
Yep.
I'm sure.
Yep.
Okay, that certainly makes sense that is going to take some time. Have there been any issues with safety in the past?
No, ma'am. I know back in 2014 there was a small ammunition explosion there.
There it is.
But that was in 2014.
Yeah.
It was handled real well. It was just I don't even remember what caused that.
Yeah, and any concern about secondary explosions?
Thank you, Wilson.
Obviously,
that means a lot to me. Thank you, Wilson.
As officials there are trying to get a handle on just the scope of this, is there anything preventing them from doing that when it comes to concerns about other dangers?
Well, they're working with the best possible folks that they can work with that know everything there is to know about explosives. They're all out there at the scene right now. I keep getting updates a little bit here and there. Like I said, we're going to now a regular hourly, I believe is what they told me, updates, so that we can keep people informed as to what's going on. As far as any hazardous materials being spread through the air or anything, I'm unaware of any of that.
All right. Mayor Bates, we're so sorry. We can see this scene, and as you say, there's 80 employees. We know that this is really touching the communities there in these two counties, and we certainly appreciate you updating us. And we'll let you go now so that you can go there to the scene.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Erica?
Also with us at this hour, Jim Maxwell. He's a retired FBI special agent and bomb tech. Jim, good to have you with us. I mean, those pictures are just devastating when we see them. What we learned from the mayor there and what we know about the company, the fact that this company makes military and demolition explosives. There were these secondary explosions at one point, as Ryan was reporting. What does that tell you in these initial moments about what may have happened?
I mean, literally, the plant handles explosive materials. You would think that there would be secondary explosions. And the reason why they say explosions, because honestly, it'll be more than one. They don't know how many.
Sorry, y'all.
It is a known risk, especially when dealing with hazardous material.
Well, first of all, my heart goes out to the families and the employees at this company. This is a devastating event. And I think it's safe to say that if they're both manufacturing military as well as commercial explosives, that these are high explosives, material that moves faster than 3,300 feet per second. So military explosives can move anywhere from 18 to 23,000 feet per second. So this energetic material ignites.
Is he serious? I didn't know that. That I didn't know.
Second. So military explosives can move anywhere from 18 to 23,000 feet per second.
23,000 feet per second?
Wow.
I can see how much of a hazard this is.
So this when this type of energetic material ignites.
Hold on.
it has devastating effects. But right now, I think the biggest issue is for health and safety of the first responders is making sure that the area is safe to enter. You have reports of secondary explosions. You also have to consider how much other material that has not been initiated stored there, and is it in danger of igniting also? So there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, and even approaching a scene like this is extremely dangerous and difficult.
You know what I'm realizing now? If I put those numbers, if you take those numbers, and I believe him, he has experience. If you take those numbers and you really think about the impact of this facility in an enclosure, the heat that is produced, and that amount of destruction, and how much of an explosion it was, I mean this respectfully to the families and these victims. Identifying their bodies is going to be extremely difficult if there's something left, which it could possibly be, absolutely. 23,000, because military explosives is a whole different ballgame. I'm, putting that informally, with respect though, but informally, in the most informal ways possible, that is a massive, massive explosion. And that would...
Green Goblin, this will be a blast.
Explosives is a whole different ballgame. I'm, putting that informally, with respect though, but informally, in the most informal ways possible, that is a massive, massive explosion. And that would... I didn't even know that. 23,000 feet per second at max. That's what he said. 17 to 23. That is... I can't imagine the type of destruction. If somebody witnessed that, of course, but from where it originated from to what we see it now, how much... Because I would assume that this facility is like heavily enclosed, correct? I mean, I don't know. I never saw the inside of this facility. Yeah, like because I'm thinking of how fast this hazardous materials are going and the amount of heat it produce. Those two combos, I learned, will wreak havoc in the general area. And these people, man, bless them. Oh my God. So it's 19 people missing. That was the initial report. When I gotta find the time when this this starts here.
Information. We're gonna start in Tennessee, and that is...
Yes, Southern Mary. I will take care of myself. I know a lot of you guys were worried about me yesterday. I really appreciate that, by the way. I really did not feel good. I don't know. That's why I ended the stream abruptly yesterday. I don't ever do that. I really did not feel good. I don't know what was going on, but I drank a shit ton of water. I crashed, and I feel like 90% better. Like I'm much better. So I appreciate the messages, the care in the comments, and everything else. And I'm looking at the comments as well. Thank you guys. I'm much, much better. I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
We're in explosion.
That's crazy, man.
Houston is on edge again. Another body has been pulled from one of the city's bayous, sparking new fears online of a so-called bayou killer. Police say there is no serial offender at large, but with social media buzzing and multiple deaths this year, questions are just mounting. We are going to get to the bottom of what is happening in Houston's waterways with a former FBI and CIA agent. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. And this is another Law and Crime legal alert. There are allegations claiming that online is financial loss. Well, it's a scary thought. You killer. Honestly, it shows no sign of slowing. Houston. Social media is buzzing again after yet another body was discovered in a local waterway this week. Police maintain there is no evidence of a serial killer on the loose, but speculation online, it shows no sign of slowing. And can you blame them? Some have already dubbed the mysterious figure the Bayou Killer. Honestly, it reads like the opening scene of a true crime documentary, but I will tell you, for Houston residents, it's a frightening reality. Maybe not of a serial killer per se, but it's a scary thought about what may be happening here. Just when the rumors seem to be quieting down a little bit, what happens? Another body turns up. This is reignited fear and speculation across this city. That's right, this week, for at least the 16th time this year, and just weeks after a cluster of discoveries sparked a citywide panic, Houston police pulled another body from the waters of White Oak Bayou. This is a chilling development that has everyone asking.
I wanted to have a little conversation about intimacy. Go shy now.
And speculation across this city. That's right, this week, for at least the 16th time this year, and just weeks after a cluster of discoveries sparked a citywide panic, Houston police pulled another body from the waters of White Oak Bayou. This is a chilling development that has everyone asking the same question all over. The timeline was very tight. The numbers pulled from different bayous around the internet on fire, okay? In less than 2 weeks last month, 6 bodies were pulled from different bayous around Houston. The timeline was very tight. The numbers really alarming, that it was almost impossible not to try to connect the dots here. Social media did just that. There were viral TikToks and Instagram posts speculating about a serial killer on the loose. But from day one, city leaders and police, they've been adamant that there is no evidence of a serial killer. But I want to rewind. I want to break down exactly how we got here to try to make sense. It all started in mid-September when the first body was found on the morning of September 15th in Brays Bayou. She was identified as 21-year-old Jade McKissick, a University of Houston student who had gone missing after leaving a Midtown bar. Now, investigators said, preliminarily, there were no signs of foul play, but then, just hours later that same day, another body was recovered from Greens Bayou. He was identified as 43-year-old Rodney Ricardo Chapman. The very next day, September 16th, a third person, 24-year-old Seth Joseph Hansen, was found in White Oak Bayou. 2 days after that, on September 18th, a fourth body was discovered in Buffalo Bayou. He was 63-year-old Arnulfo Alvarado. And then on September 20th, a fifth body was pulled from Buffalo Bayou. That victim was 66-year-old Michael Andrea Rice. The sixth body found on September 26th in Buffalo Bayou downtown, initially unidentified, and at the time the medical examiner asked for the public's help in identifying her, describing her as a black woman under 30 years old, about 5'3", 120 pounds, short black hair, widow's peak. She was found wearing a black and beautiful t-shirt and jeans, had a distinctive 888 tattoo on her wrist. According to the Houston Chronicle, this body has now been identified as Michaela Miller, though her age remains unknown at this point. So 5 bodies, 5 days, and a sixth just days later. So obviously, it was reported that the city was buzzing with both fear and speculation. And what happened in response? Mayor John Whitmire and Police Chief No Diaz held a press conference to address the rumors head on. That was back on September 23rd.
We do not have any evidence that there is a serial killer loose in Houston, Texas. Let me say that again. There is no evidence that there's a serial killer loose on the streets of Houston. If there was, you would hear it from me first.
He called the social media speculation false and frustrating. Chief Diaz and Homicide Captain Salam Zia then walked through the facts.
So they know what's going on. They're covering it up. They know who's doing it.
Their dive team had recovered the bodies, but they doubled down on the mayor's claims that these cases are not connected.
There's no evidence, and I repeat, no evidence.
You ever watch Dexter?
To suggest that any of these incidents are connected.
Characters like Dexter, they walking around. You know what I'm saying?
In all of the 5 incidents, the medical examiner's office will determine the cause of death. The investigation into these incidents is pending the determination of the ME's office. For us as an agency, rumors stir fear and anxiety in our communities. It's important to rely on verified information and investigations.
And Captain Zia emphasized that their job was to follow the science and the evidence and not social media theories. So to help us understand the psychology behind this panic, we actually spoke with criminologist Dr. Debbie Goodman on a previous episode of Sidebar, and she explained why these theories spread so quickly.
First and foremost, the topic in and of itself of murder is so mysterious to people, right? As we know, it becomes very intriguing, very fascinating. So as soon as somebody thinks that there's any category of murder, whether a double homicide, quadruple, serial murder, mass murder, family-based, school-based, workplace-based, it really captures the attention. Now, in terms of the investigators themselves, they're really looking for fact patterns. First, they need to identify who are these victims. Is there any commonality? Are they of a similar demographic, right? So we would start there. And then the victimology is so important because we also want to look at the fact patterns. When we say fact patterns, when it comes to investigations, we're really just talking about the 5 W's and the H. The who, what, when, where, why, and how. So we always start there with any type of murder case, but this whole idea of fascination and people really gravitating toward this type of case where we have bodies in a river and immediately people think, well, clearly it's got to be serial murder.
Is your marketing team feeling stuck with search and social, with limited growth?
Why and how. So we always start there with any type of murder case, but this whole idea of fascination and people really gravitating toward this type of case where we have bodies in a river and immediately people think, well, clearly it's got to be serial murder. But Jesse, part of what I do is I look at data analytics as a criminologist, and serial murders in our modern day society is really not as common as, let's say, decades ago. So the real concern today is actually mass murders. Social media really drives people's perspective. Now, is it fact or is it fiction? That's really up to the individual to determine. But again, because we know that any category of murder is so fascinating that people in 60 seconds or less will read the post, see the headline, listen to, a blog, a podcast, and make a determination. Now they're looking for how many likes, how many reposts, and all of a sudden, in a 60-second window, a decision has been made.
Now, she urged caution, trusting the investigators to do their work, noted that in the modern age with surveillance and technology, it is incredibly difficult for a serial offender to operate without leaving a digital trail. So with the official word from the city essentially being this is tragic but unconnected, this is when the story began to kind of fade from the headlines. But the bayous have spoken again. This past Wednesday, on October 8th, the pattern repeated. Just after 8 a.m., callers reported a body in White Oak Bayou. Houston police, their dive team, they responded, recovering the body of a male, and police reported there were no obvious signs of foul play. And as with all the others, the final word on how this person died rests with the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences. Mayor Whitmire was again quick to comment, stating, "We have 2,500 miles of bayous. Like I said, they're not related. It's been politicized by candidates and others, which is unfortunate, probably not paying proper respect to the families." Now, that could be a fair point. He went on to attribute many of these tragedies to personal decisions, the harsh realities faced by the city's homeless population, and said when it comes to these serial killer theories, enough is enough. Quote, "I do say enough is enough on speculation out of respect for the families and also the 2.3 million Houstonians in our region. We have challenges, we're meeting those challenges, but a serial killer loose in Houston is not one of our challenges." So to break all this down, I want to bring on former FBI and CIA agent and adjunct professor of criminal justice, Tracy Walder, also a News Nation contributor. Tracy, thank you so much for coming on. It's great to see you. From your perspective, How would law enforcement initially determine whether you have a series of deaths, whether they are connected or whether they are completely random?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think obviously the first thing they're going to utilize is autopsies, right? What were the cause of death? Was it deemed to be a homicide, an accidental drowning, all of those things? And then if they are deemed to be homicides, are they similar in terms of, how they were killed? I think the other thing they're probably going to do is if they have any digital devices that are salvageable, obviously these bodies have been in water for some period of time, as well as any social media that they can get on. They might be looking in terms of whether or not any of these individuals, retraced similar steps, came from similar locations just prior to their deaths.
If you're talking, though, multiple bodies discovered in these different bayous over a short period of time, what would be the patterns you would be looking for? I mean, your perspective of this kind of case, are there any red flags that would suggest to you there might be a connection? Is there any red flags that would suggest to you there could be a serial killer? And I had talked earlier about, when we previously covered this, how serial killers there's a rarity about them right now. It's not so easy, particularly in today's day and age, given technology, for there to be a serial killer. But are there things that stand out to you about this that give you pause?
A lot of people can do there. This is radically.
There could be, give you pause.
Listen, I think it's a lot of bodies. I hate to be so blunt, Jesse. I understand, Houston, there are bayous, right? This is very common. There are waterways in these areas. That part's not unusual. But in my opinion, the volume, right? The volume over, a 7-month period, or to me, is piques my curiosity, I guess. That is what would start to get, I don't mean to sound flippant or minimize the death, but one body or a few bodies, I understand these things happen, unfortunately. But when you have, in my opinion, 25 at one point, 20 at some point, I think that's when we get into issues here in terms of really needing to investigate these further and ensure that this isn't some kind of a targeted situation.
If you're dealing with one person or two people or a group that are committing multiple killings, would it be strange to you to leave digital evidence or footprints or any kind of, again, I go back to the idea of this is a day and age where almost everybody has a social media footprint, a digital footprint, there's surveillance all over the place. Would it be strange to you to see some sort of, if someone were committing this, evidence behind?
So interestingly, by putting the bodies in water, you are really destroying a lot of the evidence. And so part of me wonders if that is very convenient for them to be able to do, right? You don't have to necessarily clean, a crime scene or clean a body and make sure that you haven't left any kinds of forensic evidence behind. Also, throwing a phone in water is really going to make a phone very difficult. I don't know if phones were on their bodies when they were found. That I wouldn't know. But let's just say they were. Everyone's attached to their phone in this day and age. It will make it very difficult and time consuming to try to obtain any kind of data from that. So in all honesty, putting a body in water is actually a great way to hide evidence.
Now, police, the city officials, they insist adamantly there's no evidence of a serial killer. When you hear that, in your experience, how often does social media, the speculation that you see on social media, and what the commentary online, does that conflict with the investigation, or does it help it? Because sometimes the public may know certain details that law enforcement doesn't, or they may be able to provide more information or clues or look into things. But how much does it conflict with an investigation?
Sometimes it can conflict in terms of just if it isn't true, right? Just the sheer volume, right, of calls and leads that they would have to investigate. And then what that can do is actually stifle legitimate investigations that these departments are conducting, right? Because they have this sheer volume of accusations that if it's an open crime, they have to investigate. That's something they have to do. So that can hurt, obviously, investigators. But it sounds to me that if they are very quickly saying none of this is nefarious, they're not necessarily, in my opinion, then open to taking leads in investigations, which is also problematic on the flip side, right? To quickly call something not a homicide and then not be open to other investigations around it, that's problematic too.
Now, there have been some key updates that we want to talk about, particularly from the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office. And this adds new layers to this story because 3 new identities from that September cluster that we mentioned earlier, we want to identify them specifically here about what we're talking about. So the victim found in the White Oak Bayou on September 16th has now officially been identified as 24-year-old Joseph Hansen. The man recovered from Buffalo Bayou on September 18th is 63-year-old Arnulfo Alvarado. And the final Bayou death from September, the one from the 26th, has been identified as Michaela Miller. Now here's a crucial piece of new evidence. While the causes for Hansen, Alvarado, and Miller are still pending, the medical examiner has confirmed one cause of death, 33-year-old Anthony Azua, whose body was recovered back in March, died from drowning. Now, this is significant because it is one of the very few cases this year to get an official cause of death. For context, the medical examiner has now confirmed at least 22 bodies found in the bayous through September, and with this week's discovery, that number is now 23. So for the vast majority, we still don't know how they died. Tracy, how does this change the context? How does this change the analysis?
To me, it changes the analysis in that I don't think police should be so quick as to say that there's not a potential spree killer on the loose. I understand why police want to be careful, right? We don't want to create public panic. That's not our job, and that's very irresponsible to do. But it's also irresponsible to say, you know, there are no links between any of these and not investigate all of that thoroughly. Now, clearly, it's going to take time. I don't know how long these bodies had been submerged in water to determine whether or not they died by drowning, other purposes, those kinds of things. But also, they have to wait for toxicology reports to come back as well, and that takes a long time too. And so I'd be interested to know, potentially in the one that's been determined as drowning, if there were drugs in their system, what got them into the water in the first place. All of that is going to help in this investigation.
How common is it for a cluster of bodies to remain undetermined for months? What are the challenges when they're trying to determine if there is foul play here?
Again, length of body in water, right? Especially, and I don't mean to get into too many specifics, but it is Texas. It's very hot. It's very humid here. And that is going to decompose a body pretty quickly, especially in water. And so it's going to make it very, very difficult, that just sheer passage of time and where they were found.
If the FBI joins an investigation like this, when you're dealing with multiple bodies, what resources, what tools can they bring to an investigation?
So my guess is because obviously it's Houston, Harris County. I don't feel confident that they will be called in because it is a large county with lots of resources. But typically in an investigation, if they are called in, they have to be asked. This is not a federal investigation. They aren't particularly there for investigative purposes. They are there for manpower purposes. So they are helping because they have that ability to go through evidence a lot more quickly than a local police department can, particularly digital evidence. Also forensic evidence, they can expedite that a bit more quickly, but they're not handling things that a medical examiner would be handling.
Now, going back to something we mentioned before, while city officials insist there's no serial killer, there are residents who have taken to social media to conduct their own investigations and post warnings online. For example, you have TikTok user Darius Sticker said this.
So as you know, we have a serial killer on the loose. So, you know, that could possibly be my baby girl or my Kayla out there one day and get snatched up and get found in the bayou. That just really bothers me, you know? And the police is clearly having a problem doing their job, right? Because I'm not understanding after the first body, why aren't there people staking out and watching? And then there were 5 bodies.
Another user, identified as Dre, promised payback on the supposed mass murderer.
To the Buffalo Bayou killer, I'm gonna be in your hood. Feel me? I'm gonna take a small little slow walk through the nighttime. If you real, you won't bring a gun. If you're real, you just pull it with your hands.
Tracy, back to you.
Hey, it's Tish James. And guess what?
Donald Trump is mentioning me by name. And it's because we've beaten him in court. And obviously we pose a threat to him. So I need your help.
Identified as Dre, promised payback on the supposed mass murderer.
To the Buffalo Bayou Killer. I'm gonna be in your hood. Feel me? I'm gonna take a small little slow walk through the nighttime if you
Our top story here tonight, the bodies being found in Houston bayous. Houston police report another body was just recovered today from the Buffalo Bayou area near Jensen and East downtown. So if you've been watching and keeping track alongside us, that is 4 bodies recovered in 4 days.
Bodies in the bayou, it is a term that we have heard here in Houston.
Now, here's a news report from 6 years ago about the amount of bodies being pulled out of these waterways.
Now, Channel 2 Investigates is mapping the bodies. In Harris County alone, we discovered at least 40 dead people have been pulled from our bayous since 2015.
It's stunning. I mean, I'm almost speechless. I don't know what to think of it.
Of the 40, we found only 6 were clear-cut homicides. In twice as many cases, the manner of death remains undetermined. Autopsy records show the greatest share of victims met their end by accidental drowning.
After taking a closer look at the numbers, it would in fact appear that most of the people who die in our bayous don't die by murder, but sometimes by misadventure.
Now let's fast forward to 2025. Obviously, they've been finding people in these bayous all the time. But something different started occurring maybe about 4 weeks ago. First, they found 1 body, then they found 2 bodies, then a 3rd body in 3 days were found in bayous around town.
Also breaking from West Houston, HPD reports another body has been found in a local body of water. This time it's White Oak Bayou.
This is the 3rd body reported in the bayou this week. Just yesterday, body was found in a canal near Greens Bayou off the East Freeway. Another one reported on Medical Service Drive at Spur 5 at Brays Bayou. And our records show that marks 12 bodies reported in local bodies of water or bayous just in 2025.
So that's 3 bodies recovered in 2 days. And then police recovered a 4th body the next day.
Our top story here tonight, the bodies being found in Houston bayous. Houston police report another body was just recovered today from the Buffalo Bayou area near Jensen and East downtown. So if you've been watching and keeping track alongside us, that is 4 bodies recovered in 4 days.
Okay, so you got 4 days, 4 bodies. There is no way that they're going to find a 5th body in 5 days, right? That's essentially impossible.
Houston police say another body was recovered from Buffalo Bayou this morning. It marks the 5th body found in Houston bayous in just a week's time. Fox 26's Andrea Rodriguez reports.
At around 8 this morning, Houston police were called here to Buffalo Bayou near North York Street.
Shit is crazy, man. Man, it's a lot to talk about, bro. Man, we got this shit.
Well, this year has made one thing very clear for a lot of people, and it's that buying a home, owning a home in the United States is practically impossible for a lot of people because they can't afford the property taxes, the insurance hikes, and the overall market just doesn't make sense. And homeowners are really facing tough choices because a lot of them right now are feeling that they need to foreclose because of these high costs.
I just want to be super transparent about how the actual real estate market is actually going, at least for me and the other 20 agents I've spoken to about this. but no one wants to say it. The market just is weird. People, like buyers think it's like 2008, sellers think it's 2021, and realtors are we are just confused at this point, because I have people who are ready to buy, qualified to buy, but nothing meets their standards. And then I have sellers who need to sell, but will not list their house at appropriate prices. Like, they're all just sitting there because honestly, they're just, if you bought your house 2 or 3 years ago and you have done 0 updates, I am talking nothing to the house. Let's say you paid, let's use simple numbers, $200,000. Today, a few years later, your house is worth $200,000 at best. Like, appraisals are coming in low. Like, I ran into an appraiser and he was telling me how houses are not appraising. I think he had like 6 out of 10 that didn't appraise for actual contract price. I myself have dealt with low appraisals from the buy side and the sell side. I've had it on both sides. And it's like, what's crazy is sellers are like, well, then I'm not lowering the price. I was like, then we can't finish this contract, and like, Godspeed, hopefully someone else will, buy this house. And then no one does, because it's like, oh, why did it fall out? I'm like, I'm not allowed to discuss, but it wasn't because of the property. But I feel like agents aren't dumb. They're like, well, if it wasn't financing and it wasn't something wrong with the house, we guarantee, because it basically terminated days before actual closing. Duh, it was the appraisal. Like, other agents are not dumb, but no one is talking about it. No one is talking about it. And so I guess I'm just going to break the silence. Things are not closing. Sellers are being unrealistic with the value of their home. Not all, but a lot. I go and I talk to them, and they are just so overpricing their homes. Like, where are they getting these prices? Like, I will be like, hey, your home is worth $200,000, and they're like, great, I would like to list for $275 to leave room for negotiations. I'm sorry, what? No. What? Like, what is going on? So, maybe I'm just a sucky realtor, I do 50 deals a year, and maybe I just suck at my job the last 5 years. But I've been talking to agents who've been in this business 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and they even have the weirdest stories this year. I even have a thing right now where one realtor was contacting me for a house, and then they come to find out this client was using 4 realtors in our town. 4. So how awkward is that? Like, what? And they all had buyer representation agreement signed with this person. So I don't know what is going on, but it's just weird times in real estate, and I think we should all talk about it.
I love a good conspiracy theory, but at this point it's not conspiracy, and I think it's just downright facts. I 1000% believe as an agent that we're not going to go into all these foreclosures because of interest rates. I think we're legitimately going to see, especially first entry houses, first time home buyer houses, I think we're going to see those people start foreclosing for taxes and for insurance. Homeowners insurance has gotten absurd. I literally just had somebody call me with a $5,700 a year premium as a first time home buyer. Now, mind you, it's a weird situation. It's not normal. I get that, but $5,700. It's not okay. This is not okay, and they can't live, and they can't make it, and they can't do, but you also can't afford not to have a house.
So how is everybody buying homes? Because I need to know the tips and tricks now. We started the home hunting process, and it is not going well. Pretty much every avenue we go down, it seems like there's just more and more roadblocks. The single family home, you have to worry about the taxes, the CDD fees. There's also an HOA. Oh, what about home insurance? Then you go down the route of the townhome. Guess what? The HOA is another car payment. Genuinely, my brain feels like it's going to explode. And then you find a house you like, and guess what? They won't accept FHA, okay? They want conventional only. So that means you got to put up like 70 grand cash, and I don't have that, okay? Unless I can pay in debt, I don't have that, okay? You know, it's not like we don't even make good money. You know, separately, me and my partner, we make good money. Together, we make great money, okay? I want to go back to the times where you could buy a house, a beautiful house, for under 200 grand. My partner's, his parents, they bought a house, their first home, for under 100 grand. My parents, beautiful suburb area, they bought theirs for under 200 grand. So I want to just understand why it's so expensive to buy a home right now. Okay, you want to know what I can get for under 200 grand in Tampa? Nothing. Right. Nada. Can't buy a plot of land. I probably could get maybe a 4x4 cardboard box.
Right.
In Tampa for under 200 grand. This is just like genuinely mind-blowing to me. Okay, so I need to know, how are we buying homes in 2025?
When I started drinking ice cold water to help me lose weight, my friends laughed at me. But when they saw how fast I was changing, they began doing it too.
Shut the hell up. Yeah, man. And I think we're gonna close this one off today. Peace out, y'all.